Good evening. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I am your host, April Tribe Juke, and tonight I'm really excited to bring to you a fantastic author. Her name is Cathy Studer. And before we start talking to her, we are going to jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. Welcome, everyone, again to the Beacon of Light podcast. We are so excited to bring to you awareness for the month of April, which has been Childhood Sexual Awareness Month. And we want to empower children and their parents with incredible opportunities to learn, to feel strong, to know just a variety of things. And you can see as the title on this is that we wanted to equip children with a strong, healthy mindset. And we want to do it through books. So before we get too deep into that, Cathy, welcome. And please share a little bit about yourself with the audience.
Well, first of all, thank you, April, so much for having me here. I have to admit, my friend, you are truly the best amplifier of others that I know. So thank you for this space. And it's an honor to be with you, as it always is, every time we have a chance to chat. Again, as she said, Cathy Studer, I am a mental health advocate. I'm a child sexual abuse prevention advocate, speaker, and author. And the set we're going to talk about a little bit tonight stems from my first book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, which I never thought I'd write that book. And for anybody who doesn't know my story, I am a survivor of long-term child sexual abuse and went through a very long, arduous healing pilgrimage, which anyone else who is a survivor out there knows about that. Never thought I'd share my story. It was a conversation with a client about one who had also suffered from child sexual abuse, and she suffered greatly with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And one day in my chair, we started a conversation. And during that conversation, she looked me in the eye and asked me why I didn't suffer to the degree that she did. And that day I could not answer her question. And she looked me in the eye at the end and said, "Girlfriend, you need to write a book." At that day, I thought, I'm just a hairstylist. Why would I write a book? But that question laid on me. And I went into massive reflection, deep introspection. And then I started my research. I wrote down on cards what I did. And at the end of 6 months, I had the answer to her question, which then I ultimately put in my book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, which shares attributes that I adapted into my life that actually worked my brain in a manner that helped me reduce the anxiety, reduce the depression, and reduce the PTSD that inevitably, unfortunately, comes with child sexual abuse. And unfortunately, those who suffer that type of trauma, they're like 400 times more likely to suffer suicide, 300 times more likely to suffer from depression. And everybody heals differently, but I share in my book the tools that I used. And I was up in Cuyahoga County. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I had the opportunity to speak to a group of CASA volunteers about my book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, which also, by the way, gives steps of what parents can do to, number one, help prevent their children from being a victim, and things that we can stop saying and things that we need to start saying to empower our children, to keep them protected to the best of our abilities, and also if something would happen, there's certain words that we can say and teach them to equip them to tell us, because man, the shame is so great. Most of us do not tell. I did not. So there's lots of value in Broken to Beautifully Whole. But again, back to, I was up in Cuyahoga County and speaking to CASA volunteers, which, if you don't know, that stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children. And at the end of my talk, one of the volunteers said, okay, Cathy, the most powerful part of your book are the attributes and how they work the brain. Why would you not take those attributes and turn them into a set of children's books?
Ooh, that is a big, big kind of surprise, I'm sure, because you didn't even want to write this first book. Now you have someone saying, you have like all the list of great things to help train brains. Why haven't you done this before? What did you respond with that question? What happened?
Well, and I said, I'll be honest, I haven't thought of that. And on my drive home, I kept thinking about it. Like, okay, what would be the value? And is there something else out there like that? And I'll be honest, I sat on it for a year. However, throughout that year, I kept getting tidbits call it nudges for another calling for a purpose. And within those nudges, the statistics were frightening, but yet they are real. Meaning today, globally, sadness, depression, and anxiety has doubled from what it was 15 years ago. Suicide, unfortunately, is the leading cause of death amongst people ages 15 to 24. And like I shared in my blog, over 60% of parents are very concerned about their children's mental health. And statistics also show us that over 53% have to leave work because of a mental health issue. And unfortunately, the depression, anxiety, and suicide numbers were going up before COVID and through the pandemic as we came out because of isolation. Unfortunately, those numbers went sky high. So that's the bad news. Here's the great news. We can change that. I've been so honored and so blessed by the amount of people that have reached out to me that implemented the attributes that I share in Broken to Beautifully Whole. And I even had someone reach out to me, believe it or not, from jail, who started implementing the attributes and shared how much it had changed themselves, their thinking, their mindset, and the way they looked at life. So with that being said, the more I thought about it, I thought, okay, the brain is always malleable, always, first and foremost. I want everybody to know that. But the brain is more malleable when our kids are little. So why not create a fun tool that would help parents, grandparents, foster parents, teachers, and counselors to walk children through these attributes, introduce them to at a young age, so we could actually start working the brain again when the brain is the most malleable, and in turn equip them to help grow a healthier mindset. Because the reality is the hurts, the pains, and the challenges are inevitable. Every single child is going to encounter that. And unfortunately, some will encounter trauma. So what if we take something that's a fun tool and help them become more resilient, help them to be able to handle those challenges to the best of their capabilities, to empower them to ultimately reach their full potential that they deserve to reach.
Right. It is really an idea that now is coming to fruition. So I wanted to throw the name up here. This is a book series, so there will be many books coming as a part of this. And her first one, which will be released towards the fall of 2023. So this year, so we wanted to kind of do this shout out and get people excited about it. And we will, towards the end, kind of let everybody know of how to get a hold of everybody there. But The Adventures of Gus and Pasha. I'm doing that sign for a panda there, Pasha. And there's something really, really sweet when we add for kids animals and just that idea, because there's an attachment there. It seems pretty simple. It's not threatening. And so tell me how you picked a gorilla and a panda for this first set.
Well, so kids love animals, especially, as you just said, especially forest animals, and they're friendly, they're inviting, they connect. I mean, how many kids love going to the zoo? So why not find characters that kids can feel comfortable with, lean into, and have fun with? And so it's actually a set of 6 books, and people will be able to purchase the books individually or as a set. And the set walks through the 6 attributes that I share in my book, Broken to Beautifully Whole. And the 2 main characters are Gus the gorilla and Pasha the panda. And again, I chose characters that are friendly, that are adorable, and that most kids would pique their interest to want to get to know. And then, so the first book is just Gus and Pasha. And it starts, so all of their adventures are in the forest. And then book 2, so Gus and Pasha travel through the entire book set. So book 2 is a guest character by the name of Jada the jaguar. Book 3 is Gus and Pasha again, with their guest character is Bruno the bear. Book 4, guest character, Ellie the elephant. Book 5, Trudy the tiger. And then the last book is Angelo the snowy white owl.
Oh, I love, love, love all of these guests that become a part. And I think it's fantastic where you picked those forest animals, because that idea of coming in and having a small adventure, but forest feels really, really safe and fun. And the idea that we can gather this together. And I love how the pair of Gus and Pasha continue through the books. So each book is going to be sharing an attribute. So do you want to share at least one of the attributes first so we can kind of get an idea? But if you want to know the rest, you got to go read her other book. We'll just share one. We won't spill all the beans here tonight.
Exactly. So book 1 is about perspective, the value of a healthy perspective. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Who Facebooker used the illustration. Thank you. I love my illustrator. My illustrator is incredible. But again, book 1 is perspective. And the title of that one is Gus Finds His Smile, because Gus lost his smile. And Gus is sad. Gus is upset. And he's feeling down. Life is not going well for him. He can't feel like he can do anything right. And his friend Pasha comes along and helps guide him through that. And first of all, there's always the value of having a friend who can be there, a friend who we can share our feelings with, a friend that helps us when we need it the most. And I share in the book the value of how even in our really, really bad days or our really yucky days, how we can still find something good. And it doesn't mean that we don't feel the bad. It doesn't mean we hide those feelings. It means we deal with it, we say them, we acknowledge them, and then we look for something good. And that's what Pasha teaches us. And she also shares that when we tend to focus over and over and over and over again on something that's bad or hard or something that we're afraid of, it can also create anxiety. And when we lean into that, acknowledge it, and focus on the good, it can truly help pull us out of our sadness and the anxiety. So obviously, ultimately, at the end of the book, Gus finds his smile. And kids have so many issues and hurts that are, like I said earlier, are going to come their way. And I want to share what they can learn through the set. So number one, how to find good in a bad days. We talk about that in the first book. And then also, how do we work through sad or anxious feelings? How do we release negative thoughts? Because a lot of times with anxiety, it means we're ruminating on a negative thought. Well, if we keep thinking about it and thinking about it, how do we get out of that? What could we do to help release those negative thoughts? They'll also learn how to build resilience, how to find self-compassion, and how that matters with our mental health. And truly, ultimately, how to find joy when there's tough things going on in the world. So ultimately, all of this is building stronger mental and emotional health in our kids. And I want to show something real quick. And this is something, so at the back of each book, I have tips for the parents, the grandparents, the foster parents, the teachers, and the counselors of number one, what's the biggest takeaway from each book? And then also, what are activities we can do with our kids to help them adopt the attributes? And what are some conversation starters? So I'm just going to use a small example real quick. So this is something that I absolutely love. So the whole point is stronger, healthier mindset and building more resilience. So what does that mean? What's the value? So here's something fun or cool you could do with your kids to teach them about resilience and a stronger, healthy mindset. So an egg is us without resilience. A ball of any kind is us with resilience. That's the difference. So if we go outside and we drop the egg, what's going to happen? It's going to
splat.
Exactly. However, if we build resilience, we become a ball. When we build that resilience and we build that stronger, healthier mindset, and we take this outside and we drop it on the ground, what happens?
Bounce back. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
We got the bounce back.
Exactly. So just a cool, quick thing to show your kids, to teach them, that's the value of building a stronger, healthier mindset. Instead of an egg, we become a ball. Instead of going splat, we bounce back.
Love it. Very simple, concrete, visual, understanding, quick to capture. And that idea of how do we rebuild and how do we strengthen that resilience? Because that's a big word. What do we mean by that? But now with the visual, we can simply start to ask, oh, are we breaking down and becoming that egg again? Or are we building up and becoming the ball? On which one? Let's see what Pasha did again. How did she help us with that? What did she do to help Gus? And I love putting characters into places and I think like with so many of the social skills that we do within the classroom setting and with kids that are on the autism spectrum, I mean, it's not just specifically for that, but I know within my own use, I have grabbed so many books over the years, and we put the character up front and can totally analyze that character. And suddenly people, the students will start to think, oh, wait, I'm kind of like that. Huh. And then we start to, discuss different solutions or whatever they went on their journey for, or however, it turns out that part, ooh, they really start to identify. And then they can actually say, oh, I remember, and they'll name the character, did this. Maybe I can try that too. And it's so fun to see how they implement it. Other kids that can just be, quick in capturing that. Again, that emphasis is really simple. So, in fact, tonight I'm going to take part of that and just to see how my kids respond. Egg time or ball time? Which one are we? And I'm just going to see what happens because I love the simplicity of it. Cathy, that is just awesome. It extends out so much further. And look at that, everyone. The power and empowerment you're giving to kids, because it really doesn't matter about the trauma. I'm not making that light.
Right.
I am saying the bad things in life happen. Okay, this isn't specific to one tragedy, because trauma has a response within us that needs help and healing. So here we are with a set of books to equip with, keep strengthening, building up. And I love what you said, to lessen the challenges, to lessen those anxious response, to lessen the falling into depression, to lessen that. Because it doesn't erase, because the books aren't going to erase humanity. We're just normal. But it gives us a handle on things of how we can respond. And I think that is really an amazing thing. Cathy, you are just brilliant in putting this thing together, thinking about it, taking that year, getting things back, understanding. So I'm curious, have you had any kid beta reader responses to the, okay, here comes the story. She's got to share. Tell more. What happened?
I have. And this shows you how much kids are like sponges. So I've been so fortunate. So there's a school in the Columbus area that I've gone down to. Shout out to East Linden Elementary School, where I have been so blessed to go in and take a couple of the characters. And we've read 2 books so far. So I've been there for 2 visits. And the gift is what they've taught me and how much they have learned. And a lot of this is a massive tribute to the teacher, because she has set them up so well. And I just have to share this real quick. Shout out to Mrs. Miller at East Linden Elementary. But so the first day before we read the first book, we did yoga. And the reason we did that is she does it every day with the kids, and it's a way to calm them down and help them be more focused. And I'm not going to lie, this school's in a tough area of Columbus. So these kids talk about trauma, as you were talking about, April. These kids are definitely exposed to trauma. And oh my God, goodness. As we read the first book, they immediately identified with the characters. They shared their own stories of things that they were going through. And I have to share this. So one of the things I asked them was, okay, you are a beta classroom. What do you think a beta classroom means? And this one girl, I kid you not, raises her hand. I think it means raising awareness. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. Yes, that is incredible. So what their insight, again, kids are so much more insightful than what we give them credit for. And it has been an honor to walk the books with them. They've been so thankful. They wrote letters to me, but I also want to share, again, this was with encouragement with the teacher, but when I went back for the second book, they told me what they thought about the first book, which is Gus Finds a Smile. The second book is Jada Stops Hiding. Jada the Jaguar Stops Hiding. And the second book deals with resilience. And I asked them the question of, okay, what do you think the value is with resilience? What are some of the positives that we can gain from being resilient? And from all their talk from the first book, Michael raised his hand and he says, a growth mindset. And I'm like, whoa, that's a heck of a takeaway. That is huge. But again, with the encouragement from the teacher, but here's the important thing that I loved, that was so heartwarming, is they had that conversation 3 weeks earlier. And 3 weeks later, he remembered that. And the fact he was reusing those words means we can make impact with our children. And that's huge. That's valuable. Such an honor, such a complete honor. And I had the kids, I got their opinions on the animals, which obviously the kids loved. And here's why I'm doing the animals with the books. If the kids can fall in love with the characters and get a couple of the animals, maybe one of their favorites, one or two of their favorites, they're far more likely to mimic the actions from the characters and what the characters are learning. And the science will share with us that after 28 days of repeating something, we start to gain value. And it starts to slowly become a habit. It takes 400 times for it to actually change the synapses in the brain, the neurotransmitters that fires off that make us feel good or make us feel bad. But here's the really cool part. With toys or with play, it only takes 10 to 20.
Woo, that is really impactful right there, because the play is the action that integrates it all together. They have to apply the conversation, they have to apply the scenario, and then they have to become part of the character within the story. You have to just understand the mind-blowing what happens in that creation of a student, of a child. Really, that impact is so powerful, because sometimes we say, well, how can they just grab onto all of this so fast, but we try to do this other and it just takes such a long time. Well, have you added it to play? Just asking, right? If you've been playing with it, it's fun. The brain is like, woo, let's do that again. It feels better. There's impact, there's growth, and the synapses do connect together. That is such fantastic news to hear. So I am thrilled that the kids really enjoyed it. I think that is such an awesome thing to do. And I thank everyone for being such great supporters here tonight. So, Cathy, we know what's happening in the fall, these amazing books. So tell us, what can we do now while we're waiting? What do you have, a wait list? Do you have a website? We know we have one running on the ticker underneath here. What do we do so we can get ourselves prepared? The first thing, I'll interrupt before you even say anything, go get her first book. And it is on audio, and she read it herself. So I'm just like letting you know, you can get that quick and understand a lot of great background information prior to getting these children's books. Okay, there's my plug. But Cathy, share with us how we can get a hold of these books and what we do.
Thank you, April. As you see on the bottom of the screen, you can go to my website, cathystuder.com, and connect with me, which gives me your email address. And then I would love to send you updates of how close we're getting to the release of The Adventures of Gus and Pasha. You can also follow me on Facebook at either Broken to Beautifully Whole or Cathy Studer, or you can follow me on Instagram at Cathy Studer 4. And in all of those places, you will see updates that will lead us right up to the release and launch of The Adventures of Gus and Pasha.
Awesome. Well, you have heard it here. Please take that down, running on the ticker underneath. And thank you again, Cathy, for everything that you have shared with us tonight. Again, her first book is called Broken to Beautifully Whole. Grab that first, go to Amazon, write a beautiful review, help her maintain more and more joy and light out there. That's what we try to do here with the Beacon of Light, is share that out. And then email her to get on that list of The Adventures of Gus and Pasha. Spread the news, share it out. You all know you have a teacher in your life. Just letting you know, my classroom too. So yeah, get things going and just see how really things can change. We want to be that amplifier of hope and light. Thank you so much, Cathy, for being a part of this evening. And thank you everyone for really supporting the children's books. We are so excited to, again, next week, bring to you a great Beacon of Light podcast and see what the Adventures of May have for all of us. Cathy, again, thank you. And thank you all for being a part of this evening.
Thank
all
you.
Right, everybody. We'll see you.